We happen to have a caller on the line, Nady, who he wants some advice for how to make sex talks with kids not quite as weird. So, Nady, yeah, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's
Hello.
3 of my favorite people. We have Christy.
Love it.
Hey guys, so I wanted to share a couple of anecdotes about how I talk to my children about their budding sexuality and human physiology issues, and then maybe a bit of a different an alternative to the attitude that you guys have expressed thus far. But I love this conversation so far.
Yeah, so, interested to hear it.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, so my first anecdote is when my teenage daughter first approached the age that women have their periods. We were in a drugstore, and she asked me for $20. And I was like, yeah, sure. What's it for? And she's, well, I won't even ask you for anything ever again. And she storms off and sits in my truck. And I'm like, and so I'm like, okay, I think I know what this is. And went to talk to her. And I'm like, hey, like if you need money for girl stuff, you don't have to, like, this doesn't have to be weird. You can just say it's girl stuff. Like it's part of human physiology. You don't have to be embarrassed. Nice. It's not weird for me. It's not weird for you. It was very weird for me, but I was determined to make it not weird for her. So
that's good.
I think as parents, a lot of times the kids take their cues from us. So if we make it clear that this is not going to be weird, even though it is weird, it's kind of a fake it till you make it kind of thing. That opens up the door down the road for them to approach you about other difficult topics. And that's the kind of the way that I went about it. It was like, this doesn't have to be weird. This is normal shit, like you're of an age where you need this stuff. If you need it, just say, hey, I need money for girl stuff. No questions asked. Here you go.
I love
Go get it. I will pick up pads for you. It's not weird for me. It shouldn't be weird for you. It can be. It doesn't have to be like this, and that's the way we kind of combat the traditional the traditional weirdness around the female reproductive process.
All the taboos. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be weird. Like this is stuff that I've been through, right? Like I was with your mother for a long time. I know how this stuff works. Doesn't have to be weird. Just ask and we can do it. And that conversation, awkward for me, awkward for her, bore many fruits down the line.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And
I love how I was just gonna say, I love how you took sort of an innocuous situation and you turned it into an opportunity to break down some barriers. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, it worked. It worked really well. Another time, I sat my son down because I'm with a man. We've been together for a long time. Him and my mother still get along great. But I felt that at the age of about 10, it was probably time to confront the fact that, we were in a non-traditional, non-heterosexual relationship. So you guys were talking about when's the time to pick the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the time to pick the time is when you've already been interacting, you've already been having fun, you're already on a roll. And then you're like, hey, man, can we talk about this? James and I aren't just friends, right? And he says to me, well, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, like we're a couple, right? And he says to me, yeah, Dad, I know you sleep in the same bed. I'm not stupid.
I love it.
Like I was expecting this big conversation about the birds and the bees and human sexuality and this, that, and the other thing. And he's just like, well, yeah, like I may be 10, but I'm not stupid. And this is part of my whole approach as a parent is that children aren't stupid. They're just humans with less experience.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're
Very
intuitive.
true.
Kids will pick up on stuff that we think that we're keeping
Oh
secret
yeah.
or on the down low, and they see it. They know. Yeah.
Oh
I brought
yeah.
my kids to a gay
It-
wedding when they were little. I was like, our friends are getting married, and I think they were 8 and 5 years old at the time. And like, we're gonna go to this wedding, and that was it, And that's a really good way to introduce your kids to different sexualities too. You just make it part of the normal human experience.
Mhm. Exactly. And one thing that I heard you guys talking about children having sex in your house, and this is something that I struggled with as my daughter, who she's a man eater, and I told her this when she was quite young. I was like, "You're going to be a man eater. Men are going to treat you differently because you're attractive, and there's no shame in using that because women have an uphill battle in life. So don't be ashamed." But we had she had a boyfriend, and they were sexually active, and she was asking questions about, like, "Oh, don't worry, Dad, we'll leave the house." And I said to her, you don't need to do that as long as you're using protection and you guys are good. It doesn't have to be weird. I would rather that you do what humans are going to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
teenagers are gonna have sex. It doesn't matter if you ban them from your house; they're gonna find a place to do it. I would rather that you do it in a safe environment, that everybody's cool and everybody's safe, and you can use protection
Right.
and not have someone barging in. I might
Well,
not
and not have it
of
in the
but
shadows where sex
Right.
starts to become
yeah,
this
Like they're
like
sneaking around.
sneaky thing
Mhm.
that is not well supported. And
yeah.
now all of a sudden, like your partner selection and your contraceptive use and these different things start to become subject to like the whims of availability.
Yeah,
I'd much rather have a
Exactly.
kid have sex with, and by kid, I'm certainly talking about somebody who is a teenager and further down the road. I mean, where your child is in their maturation is going to vary.
Mhm.
But I would much rather have my child having sex with the right partner at home than the wrong partner because they have parents that are really permissive and they can do it there or whatever else. Now, obviously, there's a
Exactly.
lot of ins and outs
You
and
are
complications
so
to
wise,
this.
Christy.
Well, I do what I can. I try.
I
When
I
does your
just want to
book
put this
come out?
caveat. I put this caveat in there too. Like, I have let my kids' partners sleep at my house. So if they had sex in the house and broke the rule, I don't know. So, because like if you get,
Don't ask,
like
don't tell.
taking it, if you give a minute, she'll take a mile.
Yeah.
So, I just had this thing where I was like, I'm like, I think it was more like I didn't want them having sex and me like coming home and then like walking in on it or something,
Or
because that would,
witnessing it or hearing it.
yeah,
Yeah.
witnessing or hearing it, yeah.
So what you're
'Cause
talking about
that's
is more of a
I-
discomfort thing for your own
yeah,
personal exposure
yeah,
versus whether or not you're okay with the
Well,
concept of
and
them
a
having sex in the
consideration
house.
of boundaries.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
saying like, hey, I don't want to be involved or engaged in y'all's sexuality in that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
well, I do appreciate you taking that position, Nate, and just kind of revisiting that idea because yeah, I was very curious about it myself, and I like the place that we've all come to now that we've had a chance to kind of talk it over a little more.
Absolutely. If I could share perhaps one more anecdote about where my approach has led me with conversations with my kids about sexuality and their partners.
Absolutely.
One
That'd be
more,
Yeah,
great.
please do.
real quick.
Yeah, please do.
Real quick. And this is a good one. You guys are gonna love this. So my daughter a few months ago said, she's like, "Oh, I asked her how things were going with her boyfriend, and she said, "Oh, we broke up." And I'm like, "Hey, what happened?" And she said, "Well, he asked me a question and I answered it, and he didn't like the answer and he split up." I'm like, "Well, what did he ask you?" She says, "Well, I don't know." I'm like, come on, spill the tea, spill that tea. We wanna hear it. And so she's like, "Well, he asked me if he had the biggest dick of any guy that I'd ever been with. And I told him the truth. And I said no. And he broke up with me. And I'm like,
So that sounds like
wow.
an insecure man right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Sounds like
some
she's-
insecurity.
Addition
She
by
may be better off
subtraction.
without him at this
Yeah.
until he grows up a little bit.
So this is what that's kind of what my partner and I said to him. It's like, if that's going to be a deal breaker for him, then maybe he's not the right guy for you. Like, I understand that men have an attachment to the size of their members, and that's fine. But like, if you can tell him that, hey, I'm not with that guy. I'm not attached to him. I'm more concerned with the person that the penis is attached to than the size of it, right? And if he can't get over that, if he can't realize that, hey, like, I like you for you, I like you for more than what we do in bed. There is so much more to human relationships than
just all the assumptions about penis size and everything else that goes with that. Yeah.
Right. Are they enjoying
and
their time in bed together or not? That's the only important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's 19, right? So she's young, her boyfriend's young, so they're still suffering from these misapprehensions about how things actually work in real successful relationships. And so, I said, hey, if he can't get over this, then maybe he's not the right guy for you. And maybe you just need to explain to him that that's not that's not the most important thing. And for most women, in my experience, I'm a man, I can't really speak for that, but that is not the most important thing.
Not by a long shot.
Penis is attached to is much more important. Maybe Laura and Helen can speak to this a bit more, but
I absolutely will. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, I can speak of that too.
Yeah.
Me and Laura Hagen,
I'll let you guys riff
on
that. Yeah, I'll let you guys riff on that. But the moral of the story is that she did take that approach with her boyfriend, and they did get back together. And it's become a non-issue with them. So
she may have helped him to grow up a little bit.
Yeah.
No,
good for her for challenging him in that way, pushing him to become an adult.
And good for you for the conversation that you had with her about it.
Grow up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good on you for pointing it out to her that it was a silly thing to break. One, it's silly to break up over that of all things, and two, that she was able to talk to him and say, like, this is dumb. Like, I love you for you, not your dick. So it's just a bonus. It's a bonus to you.
Exactly. But these are the fruits that having healthy, normal conversations with your kids early on can bear, 6, 5, 7 years later. You can have these conversations and they're not that weird anymore. They're still a little bit weird, but it goes from being awkward to being something you can all just joke about, like Helen was saying. You can approach it with a sense of humor and spill that tea, let us know, come on, what's going on. It doesn't have to be weird anymore. Your children are going to catch up with you in adulthood. It's going to happen. Adolescence is a short period of the human experience, and if you can make that a little less awkward, the benefits that you are going to reap down the road are unbelievable. So talk to your kids.
Agreed.
Don't make it weird.
Love it.
Fake it till you make it, and you'll be better off for it, guys.
Awesome,
Hey, well
Nate.
said.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so
much for
much.
calling in. Yeah, I think you contributed some great information to the show. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Nate.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Good night, honey.